guys, this is Travis from the Third Gear Speed Shop with a shop update. Hope everybody's doing well and enjoying your summer. Getting lots of bench time in, I hope. Staying cool. Before I get into the video, just wanted to give some shout outs to some guys that sent me some shop cards. We've got Ground Zero Customs. That's a cool looking truck. And we've got Life After Work Channel, Choppers Rusty Customs, Busted Knuckle Garage, Solstice Classic Car Modeling, and NoCo Scale Auto. Thanks a lot, guys, for your shop cards. And if you want one of my shop cards, just give me an email at thirdgearspeedshop@gmail.com. So, been working on this project. It started back in January, and my dad came across some decals. These decals right here. And he came across these decals and purchased them. And I told him I'd build the car, but what it is a stock car that my dad remembers watching race here in Asheville, North Carolina. And he was probably in the 3rd or 4th grade. This would have been 1957, 58, maybe somewhere in there. And in Asheville, in 56 through 58, the baseball team did not have a baseball team. So they ran NASCAR, or before it was NASCAR, they ran stock cars around the bases at McCormick Field. And in this photo, you can see it's Banjo Matthews is the car builder and car driver. And this was a 39 Ford that he was track champion all 3 years, I want to say. And I think in 1958, he won, I think 13 or 16 straight races. And my father remembers going to watch him win all 13 races, or 16, or however many it was. And they would pay extra purse if you could outrun Banjo at the McCormick Field. So it's a pretty cool little bit of history here in Asheville. Of course, Banjo Matthews went on to build stock car frames and chassis for up through the 70s, and became more well known, I guess, for his car building than most people know him as a driver. But that's where he got his start. So this would have been a limited, I think a limited modified, not modified, but a limited Sportsman. What became Sportsman and then became Grand National and Busch Series. That sort of class of a car. But it's a 40 Ford from the standard coupe from Revell. And I've already pretty much done all the body work. I'm almost halfway through, but I was able to, I hogged out the fenders, both front and back, and hogged out the rear windshield. And I'm using a 37 hood from the AMT kit, and I had to just grab a pointer here. I had to reshape the cowl of the 40 Ford to fit the 37 hood. So I got it pinned here, if you can see that. Those pins. I had to put the scratch build a battery tray The 39 battery tray was here and the 40 wasn't, so I had to make that happen. And I put these little pins here so I could position the hood. This was before hood pins, but just makes it easier to line things up and make sure I've got the hood nice and straight. And also, if you can see in the front of the hood, I've got a little pin that corresponds to the a post on the radiator. So the front headlights were filled in and the grill trimmed off. So I got the body pretty much where I want it, and it's in primer. I just gotta find some paint. It's a pretty simple paint job, but I need to find some good rattle can paint to paint it. These wheels and tires are from Ron Kuhn Resins, and he makes a really good artillery tire. It's like a 37 Ford wide 5 pattern, and it's very similar to what you would find in the Revell 37 Ford pickup, except he's got all of these details in here, if you can see it. Very nice resin piece. I was really like these wheels and the tires too. Both of them are cast resin, and I've gone ahead and painted them and detailed them with some powders. But I really like these wheels and tires, and if you look at the reference picture, they're pretty close match, and so that was cool to find those. Speaking of reference pictures, I have like a handful of black and white photos, and there were 3 of these cars, and I guess they were similar but not identical, so sort of piecing together what I could find in pictures. I've never done a replica of a car, so I've usually just sort of gone off pictures of other things and sort of made up the rest, and that's kind of what I'm doing here, except there's some things you just got to get right, like the wheels and tires and things like that. So it's taken me a while. Like I said, I've been working on it off and on since January. So built the roll cage, and it's off of the body now, but because I've been working on the frame. But if you can see here, let me get this in frame. If you can see right here, there's a little pin, and back here it's hard to see, but there's a little pin. And what I ended up doing was positioning the roll cage, and it sets down outside the frame. So the roll cage is scratch built, just out of styrene tube, and I originally had the roll cage pinned inside the frame or on top of the frame rails, but it just looked too narrow once the body got on. So I ended up putting the roll cage outside the frame rails on those pins. Got a little gas can tray here. I got a jerry can I'm going to put in there. Got the flathead. Let me see if that'll focus. Got the flathead detailed. Fuel pump is in. Carburetor is in. It's hard to tell from this angle, but I got I made my own belt, cut out the kit belt and made my own belt, and made my own shocks. These headers are scratch built as well, and they just sort of dump out the side. But I don't know if you can see, I got some photo etch header flanges on on the block there. And so those were made out of styrene tube. The front axles from the 37 Ford pickup, and as well as the rear end. The rear end is on the 40 Ford. The rear end is an overdrive rear end, and this one from the 37 pickup is more correct. So, and I'm in the process now, if you can see right here, of making some rear shocks. I forgot about that, and I was going to put the rear end in and realized it needed some shocks. I'm not sure if they used gas shocks on the rear in 58, but this one is going to have it. I don't have any pictures of the rear end to know exactly what they used. One other detail, well, it's not much of a detail, is I guess a feature, is I made my own radiator. So the top portion of this radiator, and it's hard to see because it's black, matte black, but the top portion of the radiator is from 1950 1/24th scale pickup. I think that's correct. 1950 Ford pickup. And then the rest of it I just scratch built out of styrene, sheet styrene and styrene strip. And you can't tell it very well, but I got some mesh, some plastic mesh in there to make it look like radiator material. Just did some minimal roll crash bars in the front, or bumpers, and one in the back. So nothing too fancy there. And I extended the rear end here with some styrene. So there's a few modifications to the frame, not much. It was predominantly a stock class. You could modify them. I think they were called limited sportsman or modified or something like that, but for the most part they were stock. And then the last thing was made a seat. I don't know where this seat came from originally, but I just bent some styrene rod around to make it look like an old bus seat or an old tractor seat or something like that they would have salvaged. And the only weird part about it, you could tell the legs aren't the same size, is once it's on the frame where it needed to be, the right hand side fell right on the hump. So once I put this in there, hopefully you won't be able to tell, but that side of the legs fell right on the hump, the transmission hump. So I suppose I could have cut the seat narrower, but I didn't want to fool with the seam it would have created and all of that. So I just kind of went with it, and hopefully it won't be that big of a deal. Still need to detail the seat. I got to do the pedals. I've got the steering wheel, but it's coming along. I'm just taking my time and making sure that all the components are there and that they've everything's been accounted for. But I'm not rushing it. But hopefully it'll be done before Atlanta, and I'll be able to show you guys if you're in Atlanta. And here's the decals. They're pretty good decals. It comes with enough for 4 different cars, and the Banjo Matthews being one of them. So I'm pretty excited to get into those and get some paint on it and see what we have, see what we can come up with. But that's what I've been doing, guys. I'm just plugging away on this thing, and I don't want to start any more projects till I get done with this one, because it's something that I promised my dad I would build for him, and I'm pretty excited to see it finished. So anyway, that's all for this bench update. I'll post another one up probably before it's finished, once I get some paint on the body and maybe the chassis completely detailed out and everything, but just hadn't got around to making a video before now. So anyway, you guys, thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, comment, and we'll see you guys around. All right, thanks for watching.